to you from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Reda Sadki from the Geneva Learning Foundation. We're here today for the 8th Assembly of the Movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. A warm welcome will be starting in 1 minute and just over 30 seconds. As you can see, I look forward to seeing you soon. And if you're just joining the live stream, do send us a message, leave us a comment, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, where you work, so we can warmly welcome you and respond to your messages. Don't just tell us where you are or what you do, but also respond to the questions. You can share your own experience as we go. See you soon. So we're 45 seconds away from kicking off this 8th Assembly of the Movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. So many of you are working on your action plans, building on what you're learning about Immunization Agenda 2030, and today we're going to hear firsthand what's happening and what's next with what we call the Impact Accelerator. Warm welcome to you from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Reda Sadki from the Geneva Learning Foundation. I'm here in our Zoom studio with members of the Movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. Warm welcome to all of you. We are here because on the 7th of March, more than 6,000 immunization professionals joined together to form a movement in support of Immunization Agenda 2030. The 6,000 came from a larger platform of the Geneva Learning Foundation, reaching, as of today, 44,834 people. And it is not only about the connections that we make with you or the information we send your way, but it is about the connections you make with each other through the power of peer learning. This is the basis for the full learning cycle, a set of activities, a continuum of action for all the way from knowledge acquisition, the starting point necessary but insufficient to lead to change, all the way to the cycle of implementation, improvement, revision. And then since 7th of March, we've been working together to get to this point. Everything we have done so far has been about preparing for this action plan to implement, to actually begin to take actions, working together across distance, defying distance. And I'm pleased to report that now, we were 6,000 before on the 7th of March. There are now 8,254, including 4,770 Anglophones who have joined the movement for IA2030. More than 2,000 have joined just for the hackathon. And of those, 3,770 have made a commitment to actually develop their IA2030 action plan. So if you are in the room or you're listening and you're discovering this, you can still join, you can still participate in this amazing movement. And once you are in, your challenge this week, the deadline is Friday, will be to actually find the email that has this orange button and click on it, because that will take you to your action plan. So we now have a set of tutorials that will show you, that will really guide you through, walk you through the process of developing your action plan. But this is where it starts. You see it with my name on it. If you do it, if you request it the right way, you'll get a personalized link that will take you to a page with your name on it. But why are we developing action plans? There's a very simple question that we're going to ask you as soon as you submit your action plan. Are you ready to take action? This was not an academic exercise. Let's develop an action plan for the fun of it. This is an action plan to help you in your work through what we call the Impact Accelerator, which is a human knowledge network that unites alumni in a shared pledge to turn knowledge into action. And some of you in the room have been through the Accelerator now several times. And you've told us in the past, these are the top 5 most valuable aspects of this Accelerator. So I'm going to lower all the hands. We had several people speak before we even started the session, because I want to ask you, you've heard about this Accelerator. You may have questions, and if so, please do ask them. But tell us, why will you join the Impact Accelerator? How do you think it's going to help you to be connected with colleagues from all over the world? This time, you're not working on situation analysis or sharing ideas and practices. You're actually focusing on executing a plan, carrying out actions towards a specific objective. So please go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to tell us, maybe, and I'll give you a little bit of time to respond. And meanwhile, we're going to go have a look at the messages online. So please go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to respond to the questions on your screen. Let me also, for those of you who are in the studio, let me share with you the questions so you can see them in the chat as well. So we have, let's see, Emanuela Chinonye Odunze joining from Nigeria. Emanuela, if you're listening on Facebook, maybe you can tell us, why will you join the Impact Accelerator? Because as an alum, something tells me that you will. We also have Amel Altahir greeting us from Saudi Arabia. Atahir Abubakar, who says, good afternoon from Nigeria. Kimisha Shaw Kelly from Jamaica. And Luendi Sherry, who says, glad to be with you. Let's go back now to the room. And if you have participated in an Accelerator before, or you haven't, and you have questions, please tell us what you are thinking. I know Lulu Bravo is connecting from the Philippines. We were online together before we kicked off the session. Lulu, are you able to speak to us? I know it is late in the Philippines. We appreciate even more your participation. Tell us.
I'm usually a very night person. I sleep at after beyond to midnight. 1 a.m. is my usual sleeping time.
All right, wonderful.
So it's okay.
Lulu Bravo, introduce yourself, as there may be folks listening on social media who don't know you yet. You are a very active member of the movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. Will you be joining the Impact Accelerator on Monday, 23rd of May, 2022?
Oh, yes. Every time I have the chance. And as you see, the nighttime is my freest time, because during the day I have to do a lot of work. I even do vaccine trials, actually. I also teach at the university. I do vaccine trials. I have 2 COVID vaccine trials going on, plus a BCG vaccine trial. I'm also doing a lot of advocacy with my Saturday Night Live on Facebook, and you can join me every Saturday at 7 o'clock with 5 colleagues of mine, 2 from the Department of Health, and they're all there with us to give some kind of information as to what is going on, what are the official recommendations for COVID, and sometimes we also teach them what the committees are that tries to get this information to them, that they should believe only the experts, because, you know, the Philippines suffer from a great misinformation. Our country is very, very much, I think 95% of our citizens have all, depend on a lot of social media. But unfortunately, it has its pros and cons. And that's the reason why my first challenge every so often is really to try to get them to believe only the experts. And we feel that we could do that by trying to be connected, to partner with other reputable agencies and organizations, even mother organizations. Like on Mother's Day, we did have a very good connection with mothers, a group of mothers who promised that they will also come and share their experiences with what they learned from us to their other colleagues, so that it could actually give them, they always say that the best way to convince others is through a good, positive conversation. And I like that way. I really want to connect with other colleagues here in your IA2030 Hackathon. Sometimes I just can't because I do have, as you said, it's not very easy when you are set with so many things. But I'm also doing, I'm also doing teaching. So if it's time for teaching, I have to get some break. But thank you
Lulu.
very much. How you will help us? Definitely, I've learned so much in the last almost 2 months, right? That we have been connected. I've been really taking tips from how you talk to your colleagues or to your people connecting. I think we do need to have a lot of conversations, a lot of sharing, a lot of thinking about how each one of us can share and give something in return. So thank you very much. I think this is very important for us.
Thank you very much indeed, Lulu Bravo. And they are your people too in this movement for IA2030. I just want to make that point. We have Hassan Benya and Professor Onimisi, as well as Dr. Kaushik Nag. So let's hear. We'd love to hear more of your voices. The movement is about you. It is about the difference that you can make as an immunization professional. We also have messages piling up on social media. Hassan Benya, why will you join the Impact Accelerator? Or maybe you won't. Tell us. And then how do you think it will help you to be connected? You've been connected to colleagues already as you worked on different activities, but here you're going to be implementing your action plan. How do you think that's going to help you? Hassan?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Hassan Benya from Sierra Leone, working with the immunization program under Plenty Health Access Initiative. So I think for me, I'm just a new person here, but over the past 1 week, I've really understood that this particular program is about gearing immunization quality implementation across the globe. So looking at the Sierra Leone perspective, I think I'm here definitely to really learn from colleagues who have actually implemented similar projects and how best they also can help me to really solve my problem. Because for me, one of my major challenge is about the documentation and accountability of the vaccines that have been supplied. You know, over the years, I noticed that most of these vaccines being given, they are not documented and the data is not upcoming. So as a result of that, that's the reason why I've been able to really develop an action plan to see how best I can people can really support me. And then in terms of connection, definitely, I was lucky today. Someone have actually, I don't know if from your team, you are able to really share with me a number of colleagues that I need to connect with so that at the end we can have a twin mentorship. So that's right. I'm sure by the end of this day, by the end of this program, definitely I will be able to really implement and share the concept in terms of immunization programs across the country. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hassan Benya. Welcome to this movement. I'm sure there are many warm wishes that would come if we were in a physical room together. You'll have to feel them across distance to do so. Tell me, Hassan, before you. Yeah, I saw you've just muted yourself. But tell us, have you already submitted your action plan, and do you need any help at this stage?
Yeah, I've submitted my action plan so far. And yes, I seriously need help because, taking into consideration, this is my first time of really developing a critical action plan like this. It has a lot of implications, not only about knowledge, it has also financial implication and also leadership. From my perspective, convincing the Ministry of Health leadership is something that is going to be very difficult for me. But I think, coming from that data background, is also an approach for me to tell them that if you guys deal with this, definitely you will yield a lot of things. So I think so far I've been able to engage them, tell them. One of the biggest things I wanted to do was to really involve the deputy program manager of the immunization program to join this hackathon. But unfortunately, she said, "Oh, Hassan, I have a lot of activity. I could not join." Because one of the things is I wanted to have a mentorship plan. Let me just say, I wanted to have a role model she being that particular leadership position and Hassan implementing as a program perspective, I will have actually got a lot of opportunities to really navigate into the program. But again, it's never too late. I'll still keep on encouraging her so that at the end of the day, if possible, she also can join this, so that at the end of the day, the program can actually get the momentum in Sierra Leone. But I think definitely I love the program. I've been able to really develop mine. And then currently I'm working on seeing how best I can start the implementation. Over.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, Hassan Benya, for sharing your experience so far. I hope you feel that you've been warmly welcomed into the Immunization Agenda 2030 global family. Let's now go to Professor Onimisi. Professor, the floor is yours. Are you going to join the Impact Accelerator? And is this going to help you? How do you think this actually helps you as you implement an action plan?
Thank you very much, Reda. First of all, to apologize. Since March, I think I've missed most of the previous edition. But today I made up my mind that since I've taken off some days off my work, let me join, because what you are doing is good for immunization, and I'm passionate for immunization for the last 2 decades. Having said that, when the Agenda 2030 was being developed, which I was also part of the contributor, we didn't think of COVID, but suddenly COVID came. So now my Impact Accelerator project is trying to see how we are going to align the current events that have happened between the year 2020 to date, so that we will not miss out on the routine immunization, which we have seen that have suffered greatly immense. I was just involved in an evaluation on the impact of COVID for routine immunization, and it is not a good one. So I'm trying to see how I can come up with an accelerator project to see how do we actually bring in the current issues that are on the ground now, which is COVID vaccination, and leverage on the resources of COVID to still continue on immunization coverage and equity issues, which I was part of before COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Onimisi. Indeed, there was a wide global consultation for IA2030. We see this as the continuation, in a way, when it comes to thinking through the and then actually implementing actions within the IA2030 framework. Now, Dr. Kaushik Nag, I don't think we've heard from South Asia. We've heard from Lulu Bravo in the Philippines. Dr. Kaushik Nag, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you going to join the Impact Accelerator on Monday, the 23rd of May, 2022? And how do you think this is going to help you with implementation? The colleagues you're connected with right now in this assembly of the movement for IA2030 are, in some cases, in many cases, in most cases, thousands of kilometers from where you are and where you are implementing.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Reda, sir. And I'm Kaushik Nag from Tripura Medical College, India. And yeah, I'll definitely join this Impact Accelerator of IA2030, as I have already given my commitment to this IA2030 Action Plan, and I have already submitted my action plan. And today I got a mail from your side regarding Twin, IA2030 Twin. So I am not sure how to contact with the Twin. Can you tell some points how to connect with IA Twin, as I didn't get her number. Only one email address has been shared by chat.
All right, let's cover that because several of you have raised it. Now, this earlier today, all of you, everyone who confirmed their commitment to developing, to joining the hackathon for IA2030 action planning, were matched with someone else in the movement who did the same. And so we ask you to contact them as soon as you receive the email or as soon as you can. We know some of you are busy. The folks you reach out to may be busy as well. If they have a WhatsApp number, you can use their WhatsApp number, but otherwise send an email. And email is more iffy. People pay less attention to email, but if you're listening to this now, you can also go
Yeah.
and check that inbox. Now, what do you do, Dr. Kaushik, once you are connected, if you do manage to make connected? Now, some of you are going to be disappointed. If you've been in the movement since March, you can recall that some of you reached out to your twin with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm and got nothing back. Now, one thing I can reassure you is, unlike peer review, there's no way you can be penalized if the person on the other side doesn't respond. But it is the first lesson of peer learning, that you are dependent on others and they are dependent on you. And you can see here, of course, introduce yourself and enjoy getting to know someone else in the movement. Obviously, you have shared values. You've made a shared commitment to improving immunization where you work, even though you may be thousands of kilometers apart from each other. And you can use the time, once you get to know each other, to share your challenge, goal, and actions from your action plan. You can give them feedback and you can receive feedback, and you can also decide if you want to stay in touch and continue to support each other as you're going to be focused on implementation. So I hope that's a helpful explanation. I was going to reach that, get to that later in the
Thank you.
in
Thank
the
you,
program.
thank you.
But thank you, Dr. Kaushik. I see, as I said, the messages are piling up on social media. Let me find we're talking about getting ready for the Impact Accelerator that will kick off on the 23rd of May. So let's go see, let's just look at a few of the messages. So Gabriel John from Kaduna State, Nigeria. So Gabriel, tell us, are you going to be joining the Impact Accelerator? Tell us what your action plan is focused on. Don't just say hello. Dr. Bala Ganesa Kumar from India. Tell us where you work, what city, what country, what organization you're connecting. All we know right now is you're from India and you're connecting from Facebook. Dayo Adeoye from Southwest Ogun State. And Dayo, I really like this. You say, my pen and paper is ready to write. Let's go. So, of course, the action plan is done through an online form, but yes, we understand what you mean. Danjuma Abdu from Kano State, Nigeria, who says, hello, everyone. Belinda Mabena Akiemea from Ghana. Dr. Abena Bimpe says, thankfully, I made it this time. So I'm not sure what challenges you faced, probably connectivity. And I also want to appreciate that you say you've had COVID-19 vaccine as a health professional, showing that proudly. I think it's something we can celebrate together. Now, what we're discussing is you have until the end of this week to submit your action plan so that you can actually start taking actions on Monday, the 23rd of May. One amazing opportunity we'll be sharing with those of you who are working within the movement and who've committed to the hackathon is we'll be sharing an invitation to join a quick introduction to responsive feedback. This is a quick learning module that you'll be able to work yourself through. So, but then you'll get on successive Fridays during the Impact Accelerator, you'll be able to join Friday afternoon sessions with 3 amazing facilitators and guides, Professor Vish Viswanath from the Harvard School of Public Health, Dr. Rachel MacLeod from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and Emeka Emmanuel Okafor from the Integrate Project in Nigeria. So if any of you are familiar with this project, it's called The Curve. It is responsive feedback. They were very active in Nigeria. So please, if there are any Nigerian scholars who know of this project, let us know. You can say so in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So we've been working with The Curve to develop this quick introduction to responsive feedback. And in the coming weeks, we believe this approach should be helpful to you in implementing your action plan. So we've invited Professor Viswanath, Dr. MacLeod, and Dr. Okafor from Nigeria to share, to help you with implementing your action plans using this methodology called responsive feedback. But right now, let me remind you that your main goal is to make sure you finish your action plan by this Friday. This is what you should look for in the many emails that you receive. You can actually just you find the link in the Telegram groups, but if you just look a little bit, you'll find it. I've just reposted it here. You do get a personalized link that enables you to skip some of the questions. So that is where we are. And before we go any further, we need to get back to the action plan. And you know what the questions are. First set of questions is, what is your priority challenge? What will be the objective of your action plan? What are the corrective actions that you're going to take? So I'm going to lower all the hands that were raised for the first segment. And if you'd like to answer these questions and tell us more about your action plan, raise your hand again now so we can see you and call on you. The third set of questions has to do with the indicators. We worked through them together last week and then had amazing experience sharing sessions on Tuesday and Thursday. So we are now going to call for volunteers. And all right, I see the first volunteer is Andar Gachu Haile Mariam. The second is Stephen Bana. So Andar Gachu, let's start with you. And we're especially interested in hearing from you if you've never spoken in an assembly before. And second, if you're from a country we've never heard from before. And third, not necessarily in that order, if you are a woman working in immunization and participating in the movement, we're especially eager to hear from you. Andar Gachu, the floor is yours. Let's look at the first set of questions with you. What is your priority challenge? Don't forget to introduce yourself. We weren't live when you shared before the session, so tell us who you are, what you do. In your action plan, what is the challenge you're focusing on, and what is your objective?
Thank you very much, Redda, for this opportunity. My name is Andar Gacho Magra. I'm male. I'm working for UNICEF for Somalia country office. Currently supporting subnational level Somaliland. So I'm an immunized supply chain consultant for COVID and routine immunization. And my key priority for Somaliland, which is a subnational level, is availing and ensuring vaccine and supplies at remote and hard to reach area, because I selected this. There is frequent stock out of vaccine and supplies at lower level because of the interruption of supply delivery, because there is barrier geographical inaccessibility and also security issues. So mothers are challenging because there is availability of immunized service at their level, at their village level is very low, so they are forced to move far from their village. So they, as you know, traveling has got its own cost, including transportation expense. Also, it's not safe to travel far from their village because of the security challenge. And also there is also gender barriers. They need to also have got permit or willingness from their household level. So this is critical issue. So interruption of supply availability at lower level, remote and security affected areas is critical. So my focus is minimizing and reducing such type of challenges. So delivering the immunized service nearby the mother's village so they can access. So the supply challenge, it doesn't, when you look at it, it doesn't seem like it doesn't has a gender barrier issue, but it has. So I said this: if there is frequent stock out of vaccine, the mothers are forced to travel long distance from their village. So there is transportation expense, and also because of security challenge, it will be another problem for them to travel. And also they need to also get a permit from the household leader or their husband. So it is very challenging. So availing immunized service at nearby their village is critical. So we need to I will work to improve vaccine and supplies availability in remote and hard to reach area. This is critical in my priority. That's why I also selected this priority.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very, very ambitious and broad agenda. Can you give us one corrective action, one very concrete thing that you are going to do when you begin to implement your action plan? And you'll be invited to do so starting on Monday, the 23rd of May. So what is one action that you are going to take in order with respect to this very broad, very ambitious objective that you have?
So the first concrete action that I'm planning is to establish reliable vaccine supply stock management at national and sub-national level. So we can have reliable data, and also we can have reliable supply availability at all levels of the system. And the other ones, we need to also conduct capacity building for low-level health workers to ensure supply availability, and also avail tools for vaccine and supply stock monitoring. So which will help us have reliable data, and to act as soon as possible when there is stock out of vaccine at remote and hard to reach areas. So the first one is establishing reliable stock management system, and availing tools to monitor this stock vaccine and supply stock at lower level. So, through this, we can have frequent data and information which indicates stock out. So we can replenish this stock out as soon as possible. So the delivery of vaccine and supplies will be basically in security.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you because there is a question from Syed Mehraban Shah Syedzai, who wants to know, do you have a remote monitoring system for cold chain equipment in where you work, so in Somaliland, part of Somalia?
Yeah, of course we don't have remote cold chain or stock monitoring system, but what currently we are using is the manual system. So the plan is, the stock out sometimes it goes for months. So we can reduce 1 month or 2 months stock out at least to a week stock out. So by reducing the lead time and all the process, so we can avail the vaccine and supplies as soon as possible. So mothers will not go away from their village or from their nearby health facility so we can avail all the service in nearby their village. That is the way what I'm planning to implement.
Thank you, Andargachu. So as you know, when you completed the action plan, there's a last section. In a way, it should have been the first, you could say, asked you to share some of the basic indicators. So what's the size of your target population for vaccination, for example?
This is at sub-national level. So for Somaliland, we have got total population of around 5 million, and the target under 1 children is around 300,000.
And so we asked you for various indicators, but of the various things we asked you, which one is actually important for your action plan, and why?
So there are, I am using different indicators. So the first one is continuous monitoring of vaccine stock at different level, at national, sub-national, and remote level. So monitoring this stock data at all level, we will get information, stock out information as soon as possible. So it will give us time to respond as soon as possible. So as I told you, there is a inaccessibility because of geographical and security challenge. So we can pass these challenges, this barrier, using this data. So we can act as soon as possible. So we can shorten the lead time, and we can shorten the number of days of stock out if you have the stock out report as soon as possible. So these are the first one. So to conduct or to have this data, the health workers need to have knowledge of this stock management. So they need to know how much vaccine is enough for 1 month. They need to calculate how to forecast, and how much is required for months, for 1 month, for 2 months. So if they know this, if they have this knowledge, they will get us the information as soon as possible. So it will shorten the lead time. So we can act as soon as possible. We get the data. So we can ensure that availability of vaccine and supplies at remote and geographical security affected areas. That is my key indicators
All right, thank you. We're going to go to Dr. François Gass for his comments and feedback in response, and maybe some follow-up questions for you. If you'd like to go further in this discussion, under Gachu, it sounds like you have valuable experience in supply chain, perhaps in fragile contexts. So I'd like to encourage you and others who are actually done with your action plans to register now for experience sharing. I've just shared the link in the chat, and that is happening Tuesday. You can get the exact time by going to the link, and you can do this now while you're still in the session. You should be able to click on the link and not leave Zoom, because you don't want to drop out of our Zoom studio. If you're on social media following this, it may be more difficult, but the link is shared, as you can see. The join experience sharing sessions on Tuesday and Thursday, that's what you'll actually find in the emails. So just check your inbox for that. Under Gachu, will you be able to participate tomorrow, Tuesday, and perhaps Thursday in the experience sharing session to continue sharing your experience?
Thank you.
That was a question to you. Will you be able to join Tuesday and or Thursday?
I'll take part in Thursday.
All right, thank you, Under Gachu. Let's now go to Dr. François Gass for feedback, comments, questions, his reflections on what you told us about your action plan, and then we'll go to Stephen Bana, who's the next person, was the second person to raise their hand, I believe. Apologies if you haven't been able to speak and you really want to share, then please go to the... Sorry, that's not the right questions. We want to move to the action plan. Use the chat. You can actually respond to the questions that you see on your screen in the chat. But first, let's go to François to get some quick feedback, knowing that it's tomorrow in the experience sharing that we'll be able to go more in depth. François?
Thank you, Reda, and hello to everyone. And thank you, Gachu, for presenting your challenge and how you're going to handle it and why you're going to handle it. And I have the first question is, I think it's really, as Gareda said, ambitious to get the vaccine supply stock available the closest possible from the village for all the reasons you have mentioned, and the gender issues, the distance, the cost. But I was wondering, do you have some baseline data today that give you the size of the problem that you try to address with your supply management solution using tools to monitor the stock out? Do you have some data, or for the time being, you don't have real data, you have anecdotes?
Thank you. Of course, we are based on a report, but we didn't have, do any assessment. But there is, based on the desk review, there are districts which are affected because of this geographical inaccessibility, and specifically security affected areas which are already identified. So these are the current information that I have, and based on this identified district, we will start implementing these action plans. Of course, I'm already started by, from sub-national level. I already started, providing training in stock management, and also installing and availing stock management tools, specifically WHO and UNICEF SMT tool, where we are starting, using it. So the next step is we cascading this at lower level, and following all the challenge, and mitigating all the challenges to improve vaccine stock availability of vaccine stock data, and acting as soon as possible when there is a report of stock out at lower level. So that is the current status.
My second question is that I can only imagine that with all the obstacles you already know from your experience, supervision, reporting, what are the main obstacles to be able to respond to stock out? Because monitoring stock out, as you mentioned, is to react to have a case response when you're stock out. Now, some issues are very difficult to resolve, but what the main issue, if one day you'll be able with your plan to have a stock out monitoring, what becomes the next problem to resolve to make sure that the supplies are available as early as possible when the stock out is detected?
Yeah, thank you. In Somalia and Somaliland, most of the health facilities are supported by international and local NGOs, and the ownership, government ownership, specifically at lower level, is very low. That is the first challenge. So we get information from different partners. So this makes difficult to get the data. So once we have this the data, stock out information or data, which it will enable us to act as soon as possible. And the second thing is
we lost you.
Oh, I think we just lost.
Hello, Gachu, we lost you.
Haile Mariam from Somalia. Let's see if we get him back. All right, looks like he's out. We do want to hear from Stephen Bana, and I do want to tell you about your twin, or rather triplet, for IA2030. We just sent out the emails. It's in your inbox if you haven't seen it yet, as well as some other opportunities that are coming up for members of the IA2030 movement. Looks like we won't be able to hear from Andergachu, unfortunately. This happens, but I believe we got the gist of it. And of course, the experience sharing session tomorrow will be able to go hopefully much further. Members of the IA2030 movement are going to receive an invitation to join the quick introduction to responsive feedback. This is an amazing opportunity to learn a cutting-edge methodology for programmatic decision-making analysis, sort of on a continuous quality improvement with a twist. So look out for that email as well. We're also preparing to share with you once again, given the very large number, the amazing number of newcomers who've joined the movement, we're going to invite you to join the Ideas Engine. So this is, I believe, now over 1,000 ideas and practices that have been shared by members of the movement for Immunization Agenda 2030 that you can tap into, you can search, and you can also contribute your own. Just a quick update on how everybody's doing. Right after this session, you'll be getting this question: how are you doing? Make sure you click on the green button. Just tell us that everything is fine. You can skip the 5 questions asking you if participation has affected you, changed you. You don't skip it if it actually has affected or changed you. Then you can tell us more. But if you've already answered 5, 6, 7, 8 times, it's perfectly fine to nothing. You're still feeling the same way. You can skip over them. But if you're new, definitely tell us how you're doing. We also encourage sort of mutual aid, solidarity between members. That happens on the Telegram groups. You can reach out. Just make sure you explain what is the problem that you're facing. Sometimes we get a cry for help, and that doesn't actually help us. And then if you miss a session, you can always catch up on our channels where you'll find the recordings. The recordings are usually available right away. Last but not least, if you have poor connectivity, you definitely want to connect to the podcast. So you can click on the link that we'll share in the slide deck and in the Telegram channels and by email. Look for this little part of the email that says poor connectivity. Click on subscribe and then click on subscribe again. Once you're on Google Podcasts, you will need a Google account to do this. Now, before I tell you about the Accelerator, just keeping an eye on the clock, I do want to share what is going to happen with the IA2030 twins to make sure it is perfectly clear, and then we'll go to Stephen Bana to hear from him about his challenge. So you've been matched with another scholar, that's what we call you, members of a movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. So find the email, and you'll find either the person's email or, even better, their WhatsApp number. Use what you've got, send out an email if that's all you got, contact them by WhatsApp and say, hello, I'm a member of the movement. Would you like to get in touch? Would you like to connect? And then once you're connected, of course, introduce yourself, take the time to get to know each other, and share your challenge, share your action plan, and ask them for their feedback. And then they can do the same, and you can share your feedback. And if it works out, it doesn't have to. You can decline. You can, if you're too busy, you can say, sorry, I'd love to connect, but I'm too busy. But just don't stay silent, because if you stay silent, that can be a horrible experience. Someone full of enthusiasm who's just joined the movement, and you're kind of jaded, and you've already got a couple of twins, and you leave that person hanging. That's not right. That's not how we want to treat each other in this movement. So that is for the twinning. And then, of course, what I'm going to explain in the last part of this assembly is really what to expect from the Impact Accelerator. But let's go to Stephen Bana, and I'm glad to see Andar Gachu, Haile Mariam has reconnected. We are running out of time, so we'll go to Stephen Bana. Let's see if Stephen is able to unmute. Otherwise, let's go to Harira Suleiman. Let's see. All right. Stephen does not seem to be able to unmute, so I'm trying Harira Suleiman. Dr. Imran Khan. Yes, Harira Suleiman, the floor is yours. Are you able to speak to us? All right. It sounds like you've got a lot of background noise.
Yeah, good evening, all.
Yes, Harira Suleiman, welcome. First question for you is, have you submitted your IA2030 action plan?
Yeah, for now, I'm yet to submit, but I'm still working on it, and I'll submit soon.
All right, wonderful. And what is your priority challenge in your plan? What's your objective?
Yeah, my objective for now is, as I've laid out earlier, that card retention has been my problem in my community, and that is what I'm working towards achieving.
All right. Now, I don't think you introduced yourself. Can you remind us who you are, where you work, for those who do not yet know you?
Yeah, for the first time, my name is Harira Suleiman. I'm a WHO facilitator in Jigawa State, Megatari local government. I'm a Nigerian.
All right, wonderful. And can you tell me, with respect to your goal, what is one corrective action, something that you're actually going to do, carry out, in order to reach your goal?
Yeah, I will start with orientation and follow up with sensitization of the caregivers on the importance of the card retention.
All right, let's go now to François Gass. François, you've heard a little bit from Harira Suleiman, who's introduced her plan. What would be your first question to her? All right, and we'll go to François. Seems to be muted. And just asking him to unmute. All right. So let me go to my next question. Okay, François.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say, it's clear for me that there's a coverage issue. Suleiman expected a coverage issue, and she wants the objective is to increase the coverage. Of course, it would be nice to be more specific on the objective she wants, where she is now, and where she wants to be in a certain amount of time. That would be very interesting to ask her. The second question is, she talks about corrective action, which seems to be sensitization, keeping records, cards. Is it the main cause of the problem of the coverage? Has she explored several causes, and why did she choose that one?
All right, great questions from François. Harira Suleiman, are you able to unmute again and tell us?
Yes, for now, that is a really challenges that faces my community. A lot of activities has been carried on, and when you go for assessment, you see that the cards are not there to verify the access of the vaccination. And that has been a great challenge to me now.
Verifying what? Sorry, I didn't catch the word.
Yeah, at Megatari local government of Jigawa State.
Yes, but when you did your assessment, what did you find in your assessment that made it difficult? The lack of cards, or what?
No, the retention of the card. After the vaccination, we issue cards to the caregivers, but retaining them when we go for assessment, the cards are no more there. At times, the cards are torn by the other children, and some of the times they are misplaced by the caregivers.
And this has an implication on your coverage.
Yes, for sure, because when you go for assessment, you may be thinking you have vaccinated 20 children, and when you go reaching for the cards, you end up finding 5 of them having the cards available.
Okay, so I think you address a concrete, I hope it will address your coverage issue. At least you will know more if you succeed in pushing the card retention as a first action, but you will need to have a certain number of sub-action to push for the card retention. You mentioned sensitization. So I wish you luck for improving the card retention and contributing to your increased coverage. Over to you.
All right, then.
Thank you, Harira Suleiman. So we look forward to receiving your plan and to seeing you on the 23rd of May to kick off the Impact Accelerator. You may be, of course, wondering, especially if this is your first time, what is an Impact Accelerator? So we have two more speakers lined up, Dr. Imran Khan and Peter Woldeng Kuol. I'm hoping that we'll have time. I first want to share with you what is going to happen between the 23rd of May and the 17th of June. So allow me to tell you a little bit about the Accelerator. It's a system that we co-designed, co-developed with immunization professionals from all over the world in July of 2019. The point is thinking through how can we, when we're connected in this amazing way across distance, support each other. There are 4 pillars to the Accelerator. The first is to make the pledge. And you do this when you join the movement or when you complete your IA2030 Action Plan. And what that means is that you pledge to support each other. You pledge to achieve impact. You pledge to make a difference. And that is a moral commitment that you choose to make. If you don't want to make the pledge, then you do not. Okay? Second is measure. And this is about peer accountability, being accountable to each other. The third pillar is to share experience, share lessons learned, share successes, share challenges, and also share failures so we can learn from them. Because the point is mobilization, the point is action, the point is movement. And I'm not going to read it today, but you should be by now familiar with the Scholar Pledge for Immunization, the commitment to work for a world where everyone, everywhere, fully benefits from vaccines to improve health and well-being. Now, the Launchpad, the 4 weeks starting from the 23rd of May, is 4 weeks of goal-focused, peer-led implementation, collaboration, and support. And this is focused not on learning, knowledge acquisition, learning something new, a new framework or a new guideline. This is about helping you learn how to implement faster, how to move towards your goal faster. Now, there is certification based on 3 criteria. Take note of them. We always have people who sort of forget one and then don't understand why they were not able to earn a certificate. The first one is to submit your IA2030 Action Plan. The second one is to set a specific goal you're going to achieve by the 17th of June. That is actually part of the action plan. It is a last step in the action plan, if you remember, for those of you who have done it. And then we'll be asking you to complete 2 reports to share your progress. We'll be going into much more detail on the 23rd of May, but I do want to give you an overview. What reporting means is you'll tell us what you learned. You'll tell us you may want to share a success story. You may want to share a challenge, and you're not reporting back to us. You are going to report to each other, to support each other in order to make progress. This is a brief outline. We'll be sharing, as usual, the slide deck, of course. I want to hear more of your voices, so I'm going to skip through this. Skip through this relatively quickly. And these are tips from scholars in the first Accelerator. I'll let you read them while I'm going to lower all of the attendees' hands. Apologies to Dr. Imran Khan and one more person whose hand is no longer raised. Raise your hand if you participated in the Impact Accelerator or if you have questions about the upcoming Accelerator starting on the 23rd of May. I see Hassan Benya is... all right, let me go to Musa Shetima. I don't think we've heard from Musa yet. So Hassan, apologies. We'll go to Musa, who I don't believe we have heard from before. I'm asking Musa Shetima to unmute. Are you able to unmute, Musa? We'd love to hear from you. And then Dr. Imran Khan. Yes, Dr. Imran Khan, you're the first one unmuted. Please, I know you were going to share your action plan. Can you tell us what is your knowledge of the Accelerator? What's been your experience of it if you've participated in the past? And I think we can go back to these questions. Why will you join, and how is it going to help you?
Thank you so much, Rida. Thanks again. My name is Dr. Imran. I'm working in Southern District of Pakistan. From WHO side, I'm a Divisional Officer EPI. Sir, I submit my action plan according to of my knowledge of my best. I prepare myself and submit it. But my question is, I put something in my action plan which is not possible at region level. it will be done from the federal ministry. So my question is, I didn't bypass my provincial office to approach the federal office. That's why first I will be contact with my provincial office through my office. If they are agreed, then I will forward my action plan to the federal office. So my question is there any way from your side that you will be share my action plan? If you are agreed, then is it possible to share from your side with my country or not?
So we typically, in the past, we have not gotten involved. It is really up to each individual participant to negotiate within their Ministry of Health, within their country's system. That is why we ask you to ensure that you have the support of your supervisor and that everything you do is aligned to your Ministry of Health guidelines and regulations. So we're happy to discuss this to better understand what you want to achieve. There is value to trying something new in a new way. And to be thoughtful about what you do as well. I hope that is helpful, Imran Khan. We want you to focus on.
Thank you. I got it.
Great. All right. Thank you. Musa Shatima.
I got it, but
yes.
Okay, sir, just give me 1 minute, please.
All right. Musa, are you able to speak to us?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Musa Shatima, we're listening to you. Do you have any questions about the Impact Accelerator? How do you think will you be joining, and how do you think it's going to help you?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Well, I'm so happy to join this session of Accelerator that can impact the whole world at large. And
okay, I think we just lost Musa. I know it's difficult for him to get on. Let's go to Dr. Kazi. Dr. Kazi. And I know there was at least one other person from Asia. I know we want to make sure we hear from all the continents. Dr. Kazi, go ahead and unmute yourself. We're actually almost out of time, and there is one post-assembly activity that I'm eager to share with you. Let me see. I haven't mentioned it yet because I wanted to make sure they were going to be able to join the room. I don't see them yet. We'll have two people from WHO headquarters who are joining us at the end of the assembly, and we'll be extending the assembly by 30 minutes for those of you who want to stay in order to share your feedback on the toolkit to identify non- and under-immunized communities and zero-dose children. I'll be telling you more about that in a minute, but first I want to make sure that we hear from all those of you who wanted to speak. I see Adamu Galadima Dagona, asking you to unmute as well. Let me see if there are any other hands raised. Adamu Galadima Dagona, please go ahead. Don't forget to introduce yourself. Will you join the Accelerator? Why? And how do you think it's actually going to help you to work on your implementation in this connected way?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Reda, thank you for doing the great job. I'm Adamu Galadima Dagona from United States. I'm working in Federal University, Geshua. So, in fact, I'm very happy to join this Impact Accelerator because it is very significant to join the whole group of the health in which to impact positively the life of the people in order to enhance the effective immunization program to be implemented and to be accepted by all. So the Impact Accelerator, in fact, it will help in order to know what and why some people doesn't want to take the vaccine, or they have a kind of a negative attitude towards taking the vaccine. So therefore, with this, we can share so many ideas that we can encourage people in order to take this vaccine, in order to believe in it, in order to reduce the rate of mortality, child mortality, and avoidable diseases that can affect individuals around the globe, more especially typical Africa. So the Impact Accelerator can be able to connect me with different group of international health specialists, practitioners, which will be able to impact positively towards the successful implementation of the AI 2030.
Thank you, Adamu. That will be, I believe, I don't see any hands raised. I know Dr. Kazi wasn't able to unmute. So I think we are going to bring this assembly to a close, but don't leave just yet, because at the top of the hour, we should be joined by two people from the World Health Organization headquarters, Carolina Da Navarro and Annie Maurice, who are going to share an important update, important information on the toolkit being developed by WHO to identify non- and under-immunized communities and zero-dose questions. Now, zero-dose children, sorry. Now, this toolkit is in development, and the reason we have invited them to the assembly is in order to present this toolkit in development and to ask you questions, to get your feedback for those of you who are working on the zero-dose challenges, to be able to share your initial thoughts about this toolkit and how to ensure that it will actually be as useful to you as possibly can. So we are going to bring this assembly to a close. Ian Steed from the Geneva Learning Foundation team is with us. He's been working closely with Carolina and Anna on this session. Let me just see as we get set up. Ian Steed is also the mastermind behind the IA2030 Ideas Engine. So for those of you who are new to the movement, and there's so many of you, you'll be receiving information about that, how to access the tutorials and the instructions to actually get access to the Ideas Engine, which is really a membership benefit for members of the IA2030 movement. So Ian, would you like to say a word about the Ideas Engine while we look for Anna Maurice? Okay, and she's here. Great.
Rida, can I share? Dr. Kazi?
All right. I'm sorry, Dr. Kazi, we are out of time, but we'd love to start with you next Monday when we kick off the Accelerator. Apologies for running out of time. We try to be respectful of everyone's time. We're going to shift to this session now with Anna Maurice from the World Health Organization. And let's just, so if you need to leave, of course, you may do that. Before you go, though, make sure that you have taken note of the links I have just shared in the chat. There's still 238 people in the room. So these are all the links you need to complete all of your tasks this week. It's the IA2030 Action Plan that you need to finish. Syed, you're very welcome. Josephine, thank you. Ian, would you like to say a word about the Ideas Engine before we go to Anna? And then we're looking for Carolina Da Navarro from WHO as well. Ian?
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Reda. So the Ideas Engine, if you have not used it before, it's like a big library where thousands of scholars have shared ideas and practices around the that they use to improve immunization where they work. They're in a searchable library, if you like, and what we're encouraging you to do is, if you're not part of the Ideas Engine, sign up, join it, and use the search functions to find other scholars' ideas and practices that can help you to develop an action plan that works for you in your context.
All right,
Reda, is there more that's useful for me to say at this point?
No, that's perfect, Ian Steed. I've been showing on screen some of the, to give people a sense for the more than 2,000 people who are new to the movement. Obviously not all here in the room, but just to give you a sense of what the Ideas Engine actually looks like. It is a membership benefit for everyone who joins the Movement for Immunization Agenda 2030. So as I said, we have a very special session planned with Anna Maurice from the World Health Organization, as well as Carolina Da Navarro. I don't see Carolina yet in the room, so we'll keep...
No, Carolina is coming.
Okay,
she's in another meeting.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll keep looking
Thank
for
you.
her. Wonderful to have
But
you
we
with
can
us.
start.
Anna, yes, please. So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, where you ask me for the next slide. But I'm happy to do that for you. And of course, we've invited you because you're developing, as I said, this toolkit to identify non and under-immunized communities and zero-dose children. And the toolkit is still in development. So you're interested, I believe, in getting feedback from members of the Movement for Immunization Agenda 2030, and in particular, those who are involved in zero-dose related challenges. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Great.
This is a great opportunity because we reviewed the ideas and the practices and challenges in the platform that you have. And there were many interesting projects and ideas from the scholars. So we would like to share what we are developing. This is in process. And also if there is any opportunity, because I know that some of you are working on zero-dose children.
Indeed. So let's get started.
Should I start?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so, well, you all know that the IA2030 established a goal to reduce the number of zero-dose children by 25% by 2025 and by 50% by 2030. That's very challenging because first we need to know how many zero-dose, where they are, what are the characteristics, and how can we reach them and vaccinate them. So next slide, please. Okay, yes, thank you. So given that situation, WHO, supported by Gavi and partners, we are developing this toolkit, and we want this toolkit very practical and to be helpful. So that's why your feedback and your inputs would be extremely important because this is in process. So we can adapt and change anything. And why are we developing this toolkit? First, you all know that there are important limitations on administrative data systems to localize and follow out the zero-dose children. And the second thing is that these children are quite different because they live in fragile settings. So probably these children are more difficult to find and to reach. So we need to think a little bit different, and we need to have specific tools and specific methods to identify and to reach this kind of population. So we are developing an integrated approach. And as I said before, we wanted to be practical, so we are including algorithms and use cases and tools and practical exercise. And we will have a first draft by June. So we will continue working on this toolkit, and we want to pilot and to validate what we are proposing in different countries. So your participation is very important. And the other thing is that there are new advances in geospatial sampling, use-driven sampling, behavioral and social drivers, health facilities, readiness. So you probably know that the WHO cluster coverage survey, but this needs to be a little bit different because this will be a targeted survey, and we need to look at the small areas. So next slide, please, Rita. And this is what I mentioned before. We look at the Geneva Foundation platform, and we found interesting ideas, practices and challenges relating to how to reach them by identifying the children during polio national immunization days. Also, some of the projects, and some of you are working with displaced persons and nomadic populations, and also some of you are also working on strategies to improve BPD surveillance and involve traditional leaders and how to facilitate identifying and reaching these children. Next, please. So what we are developing, as I mentioned before, are practical tools. This is the main algorithm, the decision tree. So the first step is to identify where they are. That's where we start. And there is an important question. Are zero-dose children widespread across the country? Because if the answer is yes, we need a national strategy, not a focal strategy. And to answer that question, we need information. So the first step is to conduct a triangulation analysis based on the available information, as I'm going to talk in the next slide. So once we have the answer to this question, and if the answer is no, we don't, that the zero-dose children are living in specific settings, we need to characterize them and to know how many, who they are, and why they are not vaccinated. And if we have the information to define that we need to implement an intervention and we need to take actions, we go straight to step 6. But if we don't have that information, we are developing a specific tool that we call targeted survey. So it's not the same as the national coverage cluster survey. This is a targeted survey, and we are including different tools and different methods that currently are available. The next one, please. So as I said, the first step is to triangulate the data. And here I'm not going to talk specifically about each one of these boxes, but you start asking key questions. And here the first question is if in the country you have any high-risk population that appear to have zero-dose children. And based on that, you go through this cycle of critical thinking, identifying data sources, preparing the data, discussing the data, analyzing the data, trying to find possible explanation to the roots of why these children are not vaccinated. And if you don't have the answers to these questions, you probably will need to identify additional data. The next one. Okay. So maybe if you have the answers, you can implement an intervention, as many of you are doing now. We reviewed that some of your practices is how to vaccinate this very difficult and hard to reach population. But if you don't have the information, maybe you will need to implement, and first to design, but to implement a targeted survey. And as I said before, we have different methods and tools. It's not as these are specific population. Some of them live in different settings, like urban slums or in rural areas, or they are nomadic or displaced population or closed population. So the methods and the approach probably are not the same as we use for a national coverage survey. So here we have some use cases about how to define what would be the best methods. Maybe it's a snowball sampling, or a census, or a cluster survey, or maybe you need to use some qualitative approaches, and this is another step. So let's please. So this is just to share with you an idea of what we are doing. I'm not going to share all the use cases and decision trees and tools. Next, please. Maybe you can look at these resources. These are some of the resources that we are using. So we can share with you this presentation, and you can have more information about these settings and these new methods and tools. But the important thing in this meeting is to have your feedback. So next, please. What we would like to do in this meeting is to have your feedback, your inputs and your recommendation about your interests about this kind of under-immunized or non-immunized communities and zero-dose children. Are you working in this kind of approaches? What are you doing related to data? Because here we are interested in how to develop knowledge and also take actions to reach the zero-dose children. And there are two more questions that are very important to ask. What resources are you currently using if you are working on reaching and vaccinating zero-dose children? And what is the most useful tool? And what is challenging for you if you want to approach this kind of population? And the last question is, if you can tell us about how this new resource will be more effective, and I would say more practical and helpful for your work. So I would pass the floor to Rita, because Rita is going to facilitate the discussion, and
Thank you,
I'm going
Anna.
to stop here.
Great. All right. So this is coming at the end of the movement assembly, and there's still more than 200 people in the room. And we know actually that I think it's 65% of you said that you were interested in zero dose issues. So this is an opportunity really to share some feedback in response to what's been presented about this toolkit in development by the World Health Organization. You can see the 4 questions, and I know this is a very thoughtful community, so I know you need a little bit of time to think about it. Rogers Kotong, yes, I'm going to share the link to the actual PowerPoint, so you can have that right away. And maybe we can start with you, Rogers. Let's go. Let me just. All right, Rogers. Yes, I'm asking you to unmute. I hope you're able to speak to us. And then we have contributors to the Ideas Engine who are in the room, such as Matthew Jocker, and let's see, Bukhar Alhaji Ibrahim, who's also here. So I'm asking you all to speak, and let's see. I'd love to hear your contribution, Rogers. Pleasure to be connected to you. You can see the 4 questions on screen, and I've also pasted them in the chat. Would you like to take them to first introduce yourself, Rogers, and then?
I've seen the questions. The first one is what interest? Yes, and I am very interested in the undervaccinated and the zero dose, especially as the consultant for equity in DRC. But the key challenge today is not just knowing
Rogers. Yeah, okay, Rogers, I don't think we're going to be able to hear from you. Can I ask you to type your comments in the chat? Let's try Bukhar Alhaji Ibrahim, and then Bukhar Alhaji, and then there was one more, Matthew Jocker, right? So let me see. Yes, Matthew Jocker, you contributed to the Ideas Engine.
Children are either under-vaccinated or under-vaccinated or zero dose. Who are those children, and how can we work together in order to make them get into the system?
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Yes, Bukhar Alhaji Ibrahim, please introduce yourself, and then you have the 4 questions up on screen with Carolina and Anna from WHO listening. So the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I am Bukhar Ibrahim Alhaji Ibrahim from Nigeria. I'm glad to be with you, my fellow scholars. The question I want to ask pertaining the 4 questions: what interests you in unimmunized community and zero dose children? So can I answer the question directly, or I should ask someone to answer it?
So do answer the question,
Hello?
but first introduce yourself, dear Bukhar. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. Good evening once. I am Bukhar Alhaji Ibrahim from Borno State, Nigeria. I am ad hoc staff of Nomadic under the WHO. So I'm glad to be with you. So my challenges and action pertaining the missed zero dose and how I will close the gap between zero dose and the unimmunized children. So
So that's the
Can I
first
go
question.
ahead?
Yes, the second question is, what are you doing relating to data and under-immunized communities and zero-dose children?
Okay, so the under zero dose. So the first of all, we will engage the community engagement and make the advocacy our community, so that through the advocacy and the engagement of community leaders, we will achieve our goals. So that without the community engagement and the advocacy, so we can achieve, we can find out the unimmunized child, so that the community leaders, most of them, they have the newborn list of the newborn children in their register books, so that we will go and meet them firstly, so they will guide us to social house they are so missed children, how we will immunize them. So they will give the number of the children, and we'll go and miss them. Hello?
Yes, we get you loud and clear. Third question is, what resources in your outreach to reach these children and communities, what are the resources do you actually use? So the tools, the guidelines, and what have you found most useful, and what is challenging when trying to do this work, and you to use the resources and tools currently available?
The resources available that we will use, firstly, we will check our register and we know the target population of the coverage. When the target coverage or population of the coverage is there, so gaps between our actual register and this target population, then we will find out the community leaders firstly, and we will find out community mobilization. So we will go to the community, and if meet up to use when I'm not missed. So, hello, sir.
Yes, the last question is, what can you tell us about how this new resource, so that is the, let me see, the Toolkit to identify non and under-immunized communities and zero-dose children. What can you tell Carolina and Anna about how to make this new resource more effective?
So the resources are more effective. So the one that I stated now, the one that I knew. So there is, in addition of these resources, so that's why I joined the Immunization Agenda, so that I may acquire new techniques and the action to tackle these unimmunized children and miss those. So that is what I have currently.
All right, wonderful, thank you. Okay, let's go to Matthew Jocker. Just want to turn to Anna and Carolina if you have follow-up questions for Bukhar before we go to Matthew.
Oh, go on to Matthew. I'm reading the chat.
The chat? Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're very interesting comments.
Matthew Jocker, are you able to speak to us now?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm called Matthew Joker. I work for WHO in South Sudan. I think you're getting me.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Yes, I work for WHO in South Sudan in one of the states, supporting Ministry of Health in a polio eradication initiative and the EPI as well, and the vaccine preventable disease surveillance. So my interest on zero dose is because once we are able to reach all the zero dose, then we'll be able to make sure that we'll prevent the community, and we'll also stop the outbreak of vaccine preventable disease that will occur in the communities. The data that we are going to use to collect and to know where the unvaccinated children is, first of all, I'm advocating to make sure that we develop health facility microplan. Because with the health facility microplan, we can be able to figure out the number of the children and know out from the health facility register books how many children are immunized and how many are not immunized, and from which areas. Then we'll be able to figure out how to increase, how we can be able to increase outreaches, so that we can be able to reach those zero dose from where they stay. So those are some of the resources, and we'll be using register book, tally sheets, and the other resource tools, so that we can be able to at least make sure that we find out the areas and the children those are not immunized. So here we and the colleagues in the Ministry of Health and partners, we are looking at the resources where we can get some of these resources from to at least make sure that we are able to reach those 0 dose. Okay, we have partners. We will also advocate to them so that the little resource that they have for outreach, we can use those resources at least to make sure that we reach those children. And we also have like most of our colleagues, like we have some colleagues that also cater for EPI services in some of the counties. We will also reach them, and we will also work together with them to make sure that we work together and reach the 0 dose. Actually, the 0 dose is the most important for me, because during the polio campaigns, we reach a lot of 0 dose. And even during this, when actually South Sudan announced eradicated polio, but still we have in mind that, especially me, I have in mind that after the polio campaign, there are a lot of 0 doses not reached in all these communities. Especially some of the 0 dose have not even been vaccinated with the Penta 1. So these two makes me actually to have interest in developing action plan on reaching the 0 dose.
Thank you, Matthew. Anna and Carolina, questions, comments, or reflections that you'd like to share after listening to Matthew?
Sorry, Carolina, it seems that Carolina is not able to access using the link, but I am going to share with you some comments based on what you are sharing with us, and also some comments that were included in the chat. First, there were some comments regarding the tools that we are going, and the answer is yes, we are going to include in the tools. It's not only to assess the coverage, because as you are saying, this population are fragile, and we need to have more information, not only the coverage. So we are included in the toolkit, behavioral social drivers tools, and also in this kind of communities and non-immunized areas, we are going to include some tools also assessing the readiness and availability of vaccination services. So the tool will not only be a coverage survey, it will include some currently new approaches that are very useful to have a more comprehensive assessment of this kind of population. And my other comment is, I saw Mood Machine, and he wrote on the chat that he would love to present his work plan on 0 dose. So it would be great if after the meeting you can share with us in this kind is the work plan, that it would be very useful for us to know what you are doing. But not only the work plan, I don't know, Rita, if there is any way that we can keep in contact and we can follow up this conversation.
Yeah, of course. So if you can note the names of the folks you'd like to potentially follow up with, keeping in mind how busy everyone is, I think that would be great. We'll definitely also be sharing the chat. You should be able to save the chat transcript yourself, but if not, we can share it with you as well.
Okay, and I think we can share also our emails in case they want to share any interesting experience. I don't know, that's another option.
Sure. If we don't already have a way worked out to do that, we can figure it out. Let's see.
And I see that Carolina finally is with us, and she's raising her hand.
Thank you, everyone. I joined a bit late, but from where I'm hearing, I think the guidance can be more practical if we link it to micro-planning, if we link it to the community registries, if we link it to tools that you're familiar with, right? And as Anna was saying, the idea, it's not to just calculate coverage or anything like that. It's really to ask the questions and then go from the question to what can help you answer that question. I saw in the chat also the differences in settings, and I think that's an area that we also want to separate, because it's very different to try to, for example, to do a field assessment in a rural area that is remote, that is difficult, compared to an urban slum, for example, or a place with a lot of buildings. And I think we will try to make that very clear, sort of where things can be better used. Yeah, so please, if you have suggestions about the guidance, keep them coming. Thank you so much.
Yes, Rita, sorry, one last comment from my side. And the toolkit, we also want that the approach is not a one-time intervention. So in the slides that I share with you, the last step is to follow up and to assess if what we are doing was effective. So that's challenging because we know this population. Yes, the first one, not this one. No, first one.
All right, so
sorry.
The first, okay, this one, the overall. Okay.
Step number seven is to monitor and assess the effect of the intervention. So these are very fragile populations, and it's not to have as I said, one-time intervention. We need to have a plan to follow them and to ensure that they I don't know, they are fully vaccinated.
Okay, thank you. So we have 2 minutes left until the half-hour mark. We can go. We can certainly go a bit over, keeping in mind that everyone in the room, everyone has just participated in a very intensive assembly. But obviously, if there's still 172 people here, it's not by accident. And there's some very interesting comments, as well as 8 hands raised. We're obviously not going to get to hear everyone. Anna and Carolina, are there specific, based on what's been shared in the chat, are there specific people you'd like to hear from that we can go to, or are there follow-up comments or maybe more specific questions that you'd like to ask?
Well, I don't know if we have time. Oh, Carolina has her hand raised. Maybe I will provide the floor to Carolina.
Thank you. I just have to go in a minute, but I would invite everyone to give us your feedback, right, to the questions that we put there. What do you think about these algorithms? Are they useful to you? And also this question of what is most helpful, doing case studies, for example, in a guidance, having videos. Is it more useful to provide, I don't know, forms so that you can adapt yourself on a field assessment, for example? All of those things would be very useful for us to know, so we provide a resource that it's practical. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. So let me see. There's still 7 hands raised. I'm going to try to go to people we haven't heard from previously. So Dr. Inayatullah Khan Miyankel, please go ahead. And even though Carolina has to step out, of course, we'll share the recording will be instantly available. There's no waiting time. You just go to our YouTube channel and it's right there. You don't have to wait for it. Dr. Inayatullah, asking you to unmute and hoping you will be able to do so. Otherwise, we have, let's see, Lawal Amadou, Ibrahim Katsina, let's see, then we have Sanusi Garba and Mohammed Qureshi. So let me just see who. Okay, Dr. Inayatullah, you've unmuted. You know the 4 questions. So please go ahead and.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Inayatullah, the floor is yours. You have the 4 questions. Actually, you don't have them on screen. Let me put them back. And yeah, Carolina and Anna have shared their emails, so I'm assuming you should write to both if you'd like to follow up with them and would like to know more about the guide or give your input and feedback. Dr. Inayatullah Khan Miyankel, go ahead, please.
Hello.
Are you listening to me?
Yes, we
Hello?
hear you loud and clear.
My question was that as far as the zero dose children coverage is concerned, I meant that it should be focused on the social, environmental, socio-economic, political dimension of the health should be focused, first of all. As in Pakistan, there are some big challenges that among nomads, security risk areas, it is too difficult to approach these zero-dose children. The one big issue is that the parents are mostly illiterate and they have no awareness about the vaccination. So awareness must be created, first of all. We spend a lot of money on this program, but not spend a single money on the awareness programs. So social mobilization, advocacy, and awareness, that's very important. Hello?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. So what are you doing relating to data and under immunized communities and zero-dose children? What resources do you currently use? What's most useful? What is challenging? And what can you tell Anna about how this new toolkit could be more effective? What would help you with this toolkit?
We are trying best to aware the community about the vaccination. We conduct corners meetings. We conduct meetings at schools, at health facilities for awareness programs. And we try that the religious forces should be involved. And we have also committed to involve the community, especially those who are illiterate and unemployed population, having no resources, having no knowledge, having no information. And we are trying to impart information regarding the vaccination and the VPDs.
Thank you, Dr. Inayatullah Khan. Miankel, Anna, do you have any specific questions for Dr. Inayatullah? And then we'll have maybe one final, we'll hear from one more person and then bring this assembly to a close.
Okay, no, if someone raise the hand, so I would love to hear. If not,
there are 8 more people who have their hands raised, but we're not going to be able to get to everyone.
I prefer to hear them. Maybe we have some more minutes.
Okay, let's try.
Can I come in?
Yes, Lawal Amadou, please don't forget to introduce yourself, and then you have the 4 questions on your screen.
Dr. Lawal Amadou. I'm an epidemiologist. I work with the Department of Community Medicine, Ahmadu Bello University. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're getting you loud and clear. I think some of the other folks in the room have their microphones on. Please go ahead.
I support AFINET in the polio eradication initiative and also in response to outbreaks. So one of the major concerns is that we have almost after every SIA for measles, we have outbreak of measles. And when we do the situation analysis, we discover that most of the RI providers are not permanent staff. They are ad hoc staff. They are casual, we call them casual staff. So every month they are just getting a chicken change. They are not paid well. So the zeal and discipline for the work is not there. And again, if you look at it during you will discover that most of those children affected, they either have 0 dose or they are partially immunized. So because of that, we now do a situation analysis And we discovered that those healthcare workers, they are casual workers, most of the RI providers in the state, as I'm talking of Katsina State. So they are not well committed to the tax. Thank God the Gabi has going to intervene to increase their pay. So that one is solved. But another thing is, when we also do the situation analysis, we discover that instead of bottom-top approach in the micro planning during the SIA, is top-bottom approach. So the number of individual eligible children that are supposed to be vaccinated during the SIA in that particular state, when they sent to the national, they now reduce the number and send another eligible children. Because of that, many children are missed during the SIA. So immediately after the SIA, you discover that there will be an outbreak coming up. That's why we have a lot of outbreaks of measles, more especially measles in the state. So this is one of my challenge, and this is what the area I want to work. So what we are doing now, after the situation analysis, we are now using during the OBR, that is the outbreak response for the vaccine drive polio, to know the number of zero dose and those that are partially immunized during the campaign. And we are using that data to trace the unimmunized children. Then currently, what is the result do you currently use, and what is most useful, and what is identify the children? But most of the children that are in hard to reach area, and we also have conflict areas where there is a security situation, security challenge. This is one of the major challenge where we cannot go because of security challenge. So these are the challenges that we have currently, the challenge we're having. Those hard to reach areas, they are hard to reach, and also there is security challenge affecting almost 8 LGS out of 34. So these are challenges. And this new form, when followed effectively, is going to work very well. But thank God you have looked at the issue of setting, whether it's urban or rural setting. So different setting need to be captured in the tools. So also the issue of micro planning and the issue of use of polio eradication program also is very, very important. You can also get data from there because they have the population of children, they have everything. All those ones can be leveraged on so that at times you don't have to do the survey. You have the data, you know that the micro plan. When you use the micro plan for the distance, you will have the distance. More especially if you use the UNICEF for us in Nigeria, the UNICEF in some of our states, they have the volunteers. We call it PCM. Those ones, they have register where they register all children under 5 in the community. They have their name, they have their address, they have everything. So that all can also be used, and they know whether they're immunized or they're not immunized. So those ones can be a good resource when you are conducting the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawal. Amadou, Anna Maurice, any follow-up questions or comments before we close? Maybe we'll hear from one more person. I spotted Mohammed Imran Qureshi. It'd be, yes, a survey, one of several survey scholars in the room, and then there's Annika Scott from Guyana, so maybe a perspective from Latin America, and we'll close with Pakistan with Mohammed Imran Qureshi. But Anna, first of all, do you have any questions or follow-up comments for Lawal Amadou?
No, your comments are really helpful, and most of all regarding Dr. Amadou is that it's not only data analysis but also intervention. So I really appreciate what you are doing, but I would like to hear from someone else who is raising.
All right, Annika Scott, and then Mohammed Imran Qureshi.
I would like to hear from all of you.
All right, Annika Scott, the floor is yours, and then we'll close with Imran.
Hello, Reda. Hello, everyone, colleagues. Buena presentación, doctora. Yo me quedé muy interesada.
Thank you. Gracias.
So, what is interesting, however, is that this topic of, oh, by the way, I'm Onika from Guyana, as Reda said. The topic of zero dose, it does need some international platform collaboration. I understand that those factors that influence zero dose children will vary with the different immunization regions, the different territories, and even within countries, they will have different factors. In my medium, we really do have to look at the high influx of migrants. And so our interest in Guyana would be the socioeconomic drivers prohibiting access to vaccine, not only from deep rural areas, but bordering areas specifically, because this can be considered a territory of the unknown. We are also interested in the imported risk factor that zero dose children pose to our population. Our coverage for the last 2 decades have been about 92 to 96% in routine under 5 immunization. So imagine being surrounded by territories where there's still active cases of yellow fever and active cases of measles outbreak, but Guyana itself has not recorded any such vaccine preventable disease in well over 3 decades. So to gather data, which would be question number 2, we've been pushing collaboration with relative stakeholders to conduct census, but the problem is that you have to understand where the populations are in order to get them with the census. And that is really the challenge here. The challenge is sustaining the census data, making sure that it is complete, making sure that we have reached everyone. And by the time you would have completed a census today, there are more migrants next month. And so the data is kind of not exactly accurate. What has been helpful, though, is that we have utilized the community platform. You want to collaborate with not only the leaders on the ground, the conventional leaders, because we do have indigenous tribes, but you want to communicate with those imported leaders to the regions, and that would be the businessmen, the miners, the farmers, those who have more or less forested-based activities, and that would include sometimes some of the overseas companies who do lumbering and gold mining and diamond mining, etc. I mentioned in the chat that I think what this toolkit should aspire to do is to be a little bit more territorial specific. You want to look at those drivers that you can collate across international borders. And then you want to probably use the platform of PAHO WHO to send out a questionnaire or survey to the country, see what their responses are, and kind of put that in a document and make it a guide so that immunization managers can refer to something and then adapt to their own medium. And that's my contribution for today, Reda.
Great, thank you so much, Annika. We'll close with Mohammed Imran Qureshi then. Imran,
thank you very much, Reda. First of all, this is really very interesting topic and probably the hot topic globally these days. As far as there is a commitment for polio eradication, rather global polio eradication. And one of the 4 strategies is strengthening of routine immunization. So obviously zero dose becomes a popular subject, especially in countries struggling with polio, just like Pakistan. The other important reason why we are interested in this topic, you know very well, once we are committed for universal immunization coverage, leaving no one behind, and then we say reach to the last child, then these things really become important. But I believe that the zero dose topic is becoming more and more popular, but probably we are less focusing on under-immunized children. But to me, that is also very equally important. And the opportunities are right there to convert into fully immunized child. So I guess equal focus is required for both zero dose as well as the under-immunized children. So currently, as far as the data is concerned for the both in Pakistan, we are collecting data for both. As far as zero dose is concerned, during national immunization days, NIDs and SNIDs, once the polio campaigns are conducted at the national level or at the high-risk districts. So these polio vaccination teams record zero-dose children while visiting house to house on the backside of the tally sheet. And then the data is compiled at the area in charge and then UCMO level, and then finally submitted at the tehsil and district level and handed over to the EPI staff for vaccination and coverage reporting. As far as under-immunized data is concerned, these defaulter children enlisting. So the defaulter children are enlisted, and this is enlisted by each and every vaccinator and with the support of the lady health worker under the national program and the primary health care. And then likewise, they are covered while the vaccinator is there following the outreach session plans or the mobile service delivery as well as the fixed EPI service delivery. So the resources we are currently using, the most important resource, once there is a discussion for zero dose, the synergy between PI and EPI becomes really important. So under the platform of Synergy, we have developed yet another online system, which is called the Synergy Evolution System in Punjab. And the system enables recording of all those zero-dose children through the UCMO into the online digital platform. And then the access is given to the vaccinator who just cover those zero-dose children while visiting as per as their outreach tour plan is concerned. And then they are reported back on the system, and we can analyze the data because each and every detail of individual zero-dose child is already available, including the contact numbers, the family details, and the address is all together there. So we always analyze how much were recorded, how much were covered, and what are the reasons for the uncovered children. Here, the most important reason is that we already go for the validation of the claimed zero-dose covered children so that we are very certain that these children are covered. Briefly, I tell you the analysis. We did in last NID, out of the total recorded children, 82% were those children who were under the age of 40 days. Those are supposed to be covered by the vaccinator during the outreach tour plan of the monthly tour plan, and they are considered somewhat as due children. Whereas the 18% of the children were those who are more than 40 days age, and very rarely those who are more than 2 months or 3 months age. Lastly, the tool. I'm really impressed by this tool, and I believe the root cause analysis for this zero-dose children as well as the under-immunized children will be addressed. And this tool would definitely help countries to figure out these two hot topics and get required support, and then definitely cover these zero-dose children and under-immunized children. So I believe it will be very helpful. Please do share with us all the resources, and we will go through it and give some feedback, whatever is required. Lastly, I would say the service delivery has definitely improved globally, because a lot of focus has been made. But unfortunately, the demand generation area is really, really vague. I would suggest that we need to focus the demand generation so that the strengthened service delivery could be effectively utilized. Over. This is from my side.
Thank you, Imran. All right. Thank you, Anna Maurice. Great. We've shared, Ian has shared yours and Carolina's contact details. Of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This looks like the response and the number of people staying over, I think, is indicative of the level of interest. Thank you, Anna.
Yes, and thank you, Rita, and thanks to all of you, because you have no idea. This is really helpful, and this is perfect timing because we will have the first draft by the end of June. So all your comments and your suggestions and your experiences will be taken into consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna, and goodbye.
Bye.